It's Mark Husson's Astrology Hour. Time for you to expect something wonderful.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to 2024, and you know I can't believe how excited I am personally to be back with you live on January 22nd. It's about 8 a.m. on the Pacific Coast, 11 a.m. on the East Coast. How in the hell have you been? It is so good to be here. Happy New Year. I hope your holidays were amazing. Thank you so much for allowing us the big break that we took. It was really useful. It was helpful. I think it got us all back into craving being back on the air with you again and being with you live in the chat room. Speaking of which, if you're new or you forgot how to do it, get over to 12radio.com, click the chat button on the left-hand side, and you'll be catapulted over into the Facebook page, which I'm going to join you now to do because I miss you guys so much. And if you come over there, scroll down a little, my colleague, my producer, my friend, the psychic advisor, Jay Varvel, has put us up online. See the banner. And if you come in and you check the comments and you look at all comments, which is what I have to do, messing with those buttons, you see Renee is in the house. Hi, Renee. Welcome. And Lynn, good to see you. It is so good to be back. Truly, thanks for being here. It's so good to have you. Jackie Walsh, gosh, oh my goodness. My word magician, Jackie's in the house. Nadine, thank you. Tiffany, oh my gosh, you guys, it is so good to have you in the room. And thank you so much for visiting. Everybody, come on in if you want. You don't have to talk. You can just read the comments. You can play. You can learn, hopefully. It is a Gemini moon today that is going to be quickly moving into Cancer later this afternoon. So a good chance for you to sort of watch and play along with what the mood of the moon brings us. I didn't get to participate in, I chose not to participate in the prediction show so that we could showcase some of the magic and the people who did. And I want to thank them all for being a part of that, because that's not an easy thing to do. You're putting yourself out there on the line. You're letting yourself sort of speak to what you think is up and coming in the world ahead, because that's the gifts they do over at 12listen.com. They look at the future. And they look at the energies, and they have an incredible sensitivity to reading them. So thank you again for being a part of this. And I can't wait to talk to you about what's up and coming, because I learned a lot over the holidays. There was an observance, and I like to look at things from such a, I don't know. I have sort of an Aquarian viewpoint. It's sort of my sun sign is next to Uranus, which makes me an honorary Aquarian. And so I look at things a little sort of detached. It's easy for me to sort of unhook and look at what went on. And you can imagine, we went through an entire holiday without you guys, the entire season and New Year and a few weeks into it. And so you collect a lot of information. I did, and I know you did too. And themes emerged. There were familial themes that came through, and it's really easy to like, I don't know, it was easy for me to look at them and categorize them into something that was like, well, what is this, and what does it mean? And the family thing was I don't think there was a person in my life that wasn't dealing in some way with personal family, whether it was, blood relatives, or whether it was their soul family. Changes occurred. I know 4 people who got divorced. I know 2 people who were painfully dealing miserably with family. Now, one thing I did notice is the freedom that I felt personally. And I want to talk to you about this because I think this is such a theme in this new Pluto in Aquarius age. And I'm going to talk to you about that too. And we're going to talk to you about some of the big events coming. There's a full moon coming. There is the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction coming, which is absolutely gigantic. Pluto in Aquarius, we've had a little taste of already, but it's back. It's here until November, which is there's just so much to get on the buckle your seatbelt in and sort of watch. But what I noticed was, in talking to people, the level at which other people control them, and other people control all of us, actually. The feeling of living my life in a way that I don't want this person to have a bad energy on me or to have a bad effect on me. And I realized just how much we have lived in that sort of sense of reality. And I want you to take a look at that in your own life, because as we're in the Aquarian time period, this is a big Aquarius time period. I mean, Pluto is in Aquarius next to the sun. And if ever you were going to take a detached view of something and bring it some intelligence, it's going to be during an Aquarian time period, the brilliant ones of the zodiac. And wherever you have Aquarius is where you shine, is where you are able to sit back, step back, and look at what the humanitarian viewpoint is, what the bigger picture is. Now, we're still dealing with some personal sludge. Mercury in Capricorn, Mars is in Capricorn, Venus goes into Capricorn tomorrow. Thanks a lot, Venus. But there's beauty to that I'll address all of that. But in the meantime, I want you to sort of look at your life, and especially in our absence, our 6-7 week absence, whatever that was, and look at, and that's the other thing. There was a lot of death. A lot of people, that's the familial change. There was a lot of death. There was a lot of people whose lives literally transformed. And if you were a Taurus, you were in the thick of that. And a lot of them were Tauruses. And I'll explain why, so you can sort of look at your own chart, and I hope you will look at your chart. You know, we have 12reports.com where I literally have bought hundreds of computerized reports that I just send out. And I'm the one running them, but you can look at them and see there's 100 of them. There's literally too many. There's even some for your pets. And I didn't mean to make this a shameless plug, but a lot of you ask, like, where do I get my chart? Where can I read about myself? Where can I understand this? That's where you do it, at 12reports.com. You can do it there. There's other places you can find free wheels. I think astro.com gives you free wheels. But you need to get your chart. You need to start looking at this a little bit. Just there's more astrologers now than I think there ever have been. And I don't think that's going to change. I think it's going to we're going to get a glut of people who understand this. And thank God we can all speak the same language, right? And I love that. But what I noticed is when our identity is so hooked in to the people around us, and here's what I mean by identity, and I want you to think about this. If you can't speak really honestly because you're trying to think of how often you control the narrative, the campaign about yourself. You withhold this little piece just in case the person, and I do this all the time. It's not like I've separated myself from this desire to not give the worst of me to people who might not be the best in themselves to deal with it. But in listening to the people around me and listening to the perspective of, like, I don't want to do this because I'll be ostracized, or I'll be hurt, or I'll be whatever the thing would be, or I don't want to say that the death of this person was a relief to me. I don't want to say that I've been struggling with this, because people want to believe the best about us, or we want people to believe the best about us. Well, the best about us can also be the worst about us for somebody else. So our people's judgments are going to be all over, right? What I noticed is in this trend that it took a lot of work. It took a lot of work. And I remember this one friend said, well, be careful what you say to this other friend, because they might be hurt by that, or they might not speak to you again. And I was like, wait a minute. I don't care. Literally, I looked in and I was like, I can't care about that. I can't live my life with this stopgap measure that I have to have inside of me to prevent somebody else from reacting negatively to what I have to say. This is me. And if I can't stand beside me in these choices that I'm making, if it's so ugly what I'm doing, well, I need to either change that, or I need to stand by it. Which is it going to be? Just hide it? Let me hide who I am so you don't get offended. Let me hide who I am so I can get the reflection from you that I'm okay. And it's so tedious and it's so tentative that we also then find ourselves living this sort of like reactionary life. Let me react to, let me put this face on. Or, let me block this thought that I have because you might be offended by it. Let me block the thought that what you're doing now to me, or in my opinion, also changes my opinion of you. And we say things like, nothing will ever change my opinion of you. Well, okay, if that's where you want to go, if that's what you need to hear, because some things will. And I think it takes work. And the work isn't out here work, it's in here work, it's inside. And we're being supported by the planet to find that place inside of us. We're being supported. As the metaphor, the rocks spinning around us aren't doing a thing, right? They're just reminding us that we're intimately connected to them. They reflect like anything does. When you're looking at the world through a place of fear, is it that the world is scarier? Or are you feeling more afraid? Which is it? Which comes first? And what do you do about it? Do you change out here so it looks safer, or do you change something inside of you? Do you go, okay, this, you all know, those of you that listened, have listened. I know, Jackie, I think of you for this for some reason, but if you get afraid, I call them the unsafe days, where I'm not feeling very safe. And it's not because some, boogeyman's going to come and get me. It's because I walk out in the world and I feel everything. I'm feeling everything. So I'm going to be more sensitive to the rolling of the eye that the clerk does at the cashier. I'm going to be more sensitive that day. Now I can say that's an omen of what's to come in the world, that the world's just unsafe, or I can take some sense of like, it is what it is. Let me go take care of myself. Is that what we do when our children are afraid? We go, oh, you're okay. Okay, I hear you. That means the world's going to come and get us. So let's be afraid. Or do you bring that child in and give him a hug and say, we got to do something about this, right? Your mileage may vary on your choice. The popular zeitgeist, right? The mindset that is around us, the thing that we choose around us to look at the world through, we are influenced by, and we can see the changes that we collectively go through as the metaphor of the planets show us. Pluto going into Aquarius, being next to the sun, tells us that there is a collective mindset that has shifted. There is a collective of people. There's a group out there that has changed. It's a generational thing. And those kids being born right now, they got it. They got it in them. And it's not going to be 20 years before they're influencing it. They're bringing it forward. We're just feeling it now as it happens. Now, we're feeling it, so we're acting through the weather change, right? We're jumping on board or not. We're fighting it or we're hating it. But these kids being born today are going to live this. They are going to be it. They are the change that we are feeling. And so what's our responsibility? What do we do when Pluto's in Aquarius and it's changing the whole mindset of what we do? And the sun's joined it there. So now we're feeling we can bring it in. We can actually feel the depth of it. Do we just go, the world's just gotten scary, or do we start working out something? Do we start building some kind of strength within us to handle it? If you're building strength, then you have an opportunity to sort of get what's happening in the planet in a global sense. You can look at it without fear. You can sort of like stop making your conclusions that you have to make because we have to have everything fit into something. Well, Aquarius is saying, nah, it's not going to fit. So as much as you don't believe something is happening or that could happen, it could. As much as you're afraid of the changes of AI, as much as you're afraid of the changes of technology, as much as you're afraid of electric cars blowing up, whatever it is you hear, that's one place you can put your energy, or you can bring it, you can be the change of the energy. You can feel this change inside yourself. This is the time to change your connection to the people that aren't your family. This is the time that you change this is where you break the agreement. One friend, it was like, my mom has to come once a year and it's horrifying. She's mean to all of us and she's, narcissistic and she won't shut up and it's painful and it's hell and I have to do it every year. And I could not help but say, no, you don't. You don't. And I know what it's like when I used to have to deal with that with my mom, similar mom. And I remember the powerlessness that came with it. And I remember that I didn't want to live. I don't want to live. I remember this insane desire in me that I cannot live like this the rest of my life. And in me, it was born, thank God, it was so disgusting that change had to happen. It had to. There were so many relatives in my life that it's like to live my life to keep them from judging me or talking about me, and there's still the chorus in my head. I still have this jury of people in my head that are relatives that are mean, nasty, freaking people. I don't like them, but I used to need them. I used to need their freaking approval. You may not have any of that, but you might. It may not be family. It might be friends. It might be people that might be your neighbor. Who knows? And I'm not saying I'm not saying to get rid of it. It's good to have these little moral voices in our head that we can push against. Say, nah, that's not true. Or, you would hate this, but I'm doing it. Everybody, in my extended family, everyone's in the medical field. There's all doctors and lawyers, etc. I'm an astrologer, and how fun is that to say at a family meeting back in the day? Oh, interesting. And at some point there had to be something built that says, why do they get to step on that? Why did they get to step on that? So this cycle with Pluto entering Aquarius, the mindset, also known as the zeitgeist of the world, is shifting. And in that shift is a new awareness. It's leaving that sort of Capricornian, earthy government thing, and it's shedding a new kind of collective awareness. Like, I can say with pretty assuredness inside of me, the world isn't going to put up with the sludge anymore as what it used to, the way it used to. And now with Venus going out of Sag, right now Venus is in Sag, so we're sort of like ending the quest for something better, the hope that things will get better. Venus is taking us in there with a new sense of appreciation. Venus entering Capricorn with Mercury there, with Mars there, the way we're thinking, the way we're acting, with this sort of sense of purpose and this need to create, we're feeling not only this new need to create, but we're feeling a hunger for it. Not just, I have to change. This behind I have to do this is I kind of want to. I want things different. I want things to evolve to a place where I can freaking spread my wings. I don't want to have to keep my wings tucked in order to jump off this cliff. I don't want to be confined anymore. And Venus entering Capricorn says, I think there's joy in this. There's a way to do this lovingly. There's a way to transform who I'm am without having to push against what I hate. There's a way for me to find my joy through desire, not through disgust. Isn't that amazing? Because most of us, I think, I in particular, build my change based on what I don't like around me anymore. And every time I think I want to move, it's time to move. I think, and I get into this sort of like cabin feverish thing. I think, but this place is kind of it's safe. It's amazing. I feel good here. And then I think, well, you should change because of that. And all these things that you're like looking as a reason to change. What about just letting desire emerge? I have so many people that I know that start in order to push forward, start hating on everything around them, every person, everything, this job, the people, right? And so we push against what we hate in order to justify going for something that we love. But what about just going for something that we love? We don't have to do the hate thing. We don't have to, if it helps you to ignite the fire. It could just be that you're tired here. Now, here's what's happening in the sky that sort of guides me to this idea and this conversation to you guys. With the Pluto change into Aquarius, and I mean, listen, Pluto is huge, huge. We've talked about the changes. You know, when Pluto was in Scorpio, the discovery of AIDS, death by sex. Pluto in Scorpio. Pluto is death. Transformation. Transformation is death. That's why, and by now you all know the death card. When you see the death card in Tarot, you know not to be afraid of it because you know it means you have to die to something in order for something to be reborn. It has to change. True transformation. Otherwise, it's just camouflage, right? We're just changing the way we look, but nothing on the inside changed. You can lose all the weight you want. If you ain't any different, you're the same. And that's why many of us who lose weight know the yo-yo of weight loss. The non-Ozempic crowd, maybe. Those of us who know that we don't feel better. We feel better, but we don't like it. It's still, you know, I think I'll always feel round. I'll always feel soft. I'll always feel Cancerian soft, no matter how thin I get. And so if you don't transform, if it doesn't change somewhere else, it doesn't matter what you do to the physical. And that's what Pluto is telling you. That Pluto's like the laser. Pluto takes you down to Hades. And if you're those of you that are Capricorns, I know at some point over the past 14 years, at one moment, and people will say, well, that's so general. Anybody could say this, and you're right. But Capricorns, just take a minute. You went through something maybe nobody else went through. Something so deep, something so profound, and wherever Capricorn is in your chart, the same thing. Pluto is in Capricorn in my third, my siblings, my family, my roots, my connections. They changed. They transformed. So you guys went through something that was laser focused on something that you had to confront. And now, wherever Aquarius is in your chart, it's your turn. Now, because Aquarius is a fixed sign, you and just like Taurus, and we're going to talk about Tauruses and talk about fixed and what they had to go through and how Tauruses weren't all that happy with it. Nope. But they're genuinely happy now because they had a different version of change that they had to go through. But Aquarians, this is laser focused on you now. Your chance to look at what you're locked onto, what you've hidden, what you've uncovered, what decisions you've made. And let's face it, Aquarius, you make decisions like they're law and you don't change them. But you're going to be asked to. And you can do that by sort of shaking up a little bit about where have I lost? Is it possible that this person that I hate, I can let go of the hate? Is it possible? I'm not saying love them. Is it possible that the grievance that you're holding can no longer be a grievance? Can be a thing that, yeah, I get that I don't like that, but I'm also, I also get that, I have to. Duncan just scratched my leg. So I lost my focus for a second. I know you couldn't tell. Yeah, you could. So the fixed sign of Aquarius, like when you've made a decision, when something has got you gripped, and wherever you have Aquarius in your chart, and you have it somewhere, where you hold on to an ideal and you've decided that's good, that's bad, that's good, that's bad. It's literally that black and white for Aquarius, which is why you guys get called the ice people of the zodiac, because like you're the water bearer, but you're the ice bearer, because you get icy in the decisions. It's like, nope, that ain't real. I'm not looking over there. That does not exist because that cannot fit into my reality. I've made the decision. Nope. And you just sort of live by that until now. And I think you're learning, because Uranus is also in a fixed sign. Uranus is in Taurus. Now, let's talk about the difference between the fixed earth and fixed air. Fixed earth, Taurus, have you ever known a Taurus to just give you up something that they have? Give it up. Give it up. Have you ever known a Taurus, if you lend them something, to get it back really easily? I'm sorry, no offense, Taurus, just own it. Don't lend Tauruses anything and then say, can I have it back now? It might be a few months before you get it if you need it, but that's a Taurus thing, right? It's like fixed. I got comfortable with this. This is now in my physical reality. I'm not comfortable giving it back. Consequently, a lot of hoarders, I know a few, are Tauruses. Now, if that is and I know Tauruses who are not, right? And we'll talk about that difference and why some point. We have already. But in general, if it's not things you're holding on to, it's the not things you're holding on to, and that's just holding on. So there's no difference. And so what Aquarius and Taurus and Leo and Scorpio have in common is fixity. This hold on to something. What are you holding on to? Well, based on the element. With Aquarius, you're holding on to air, an idea. With Taurus, you're holding on to things, earth, comfort. Now, Uranus, the planet of destruction, ironically, the ruler of Aquarius, but Uranus, the planet of destruction, of shaking it out, got you all. It's been 5 years in Taurus, and it's got you all. I don't know a Taurus that didn't have to shake things up, or have things shaken up for them. I don't know a Taurus over the past 5 years that hasn't said, I got to do something different. Got to happen now. Uranus rules the teeth. Saturn rules the teeth, but Uranus is like whenever you have Uranian aspects, sometimes the teeth are an issue. And some of the Tauruses I know had major teeth stuff. Doesn't mean you have to be a Taurus to have teeth stuff. Don't get me wrong. I'm trying to generalize to prove a point. That all of that Uranus stuff got shaken up, and every Aquarian, you got pushed against with that. And it was an indirect strike to you. And now we're having a direct strike. That's my point. But now Uranus is in Taurus at 19 degrees, and I'm telling you, in April, Jupiter is now in Taurus. It's going to meet up to it, and it's going to be miraculous. And a lot of people are underplaying it. Well, if you go back in time, I mean, it's crazy to see these two unite. Now, you have to think about it mathematically. Oh, God forbid. But mathematically, Jupiter is 12 years 12 years to go through the entire zodiac. And Uranus is 84 years to go through the entire zodiac. At some point, Jupiter being faster, because it's only one sign every year, is going to meet up with Uranus. And the last time it met up was like in 1774. right before the declaration, 2 years. So now, not that it hooked up, like it'll hook up every 14 years, but it hooked up in Taurus in 1774 in the same sign. The Boston Tea Party was in that year, where there was a rebellion against the tea tax. So they dumped the tea in the ocean, right? It's like there's rebellion, big rebellion. One of the most famous rebellions in history, Taurus, over what? Taxes, over my things. Quit charging me for my things. Quit trying to abuse us. Quit trying to take ownership. And I'm not saying we're going to have a Tea Party rebellion, though we probably could use one. But what's going to happen is on another octave now, as we see these two coming together again, it is going to be a form of rebellion against our life. And you're going to get, Jupiter comes along and says, here's your hope. Here's your hope. Like the Boston Tea Party made a difference. It was like finally, it was one of the most magnanimous moves you could make at the time and be heard. And it was big. That's happening this year in April. And it's interesting that the last time Jupiter was in Taurus alone was 12 years ago. I think that was when I looked, I did a cursory look, and it literally says there was a dramatic shift to the economy. There was a dramatic awareness about the economy. Rising fuel prices were big 12 years ago, that's what it's saying. Also, and I think this was 2012. So I know it was 2012 because that's 12 years ago. Also, when Congress sued, the states sued over Obamacare, the physical. Okay. So there's these things you get to watch, like what is going to be the pushback? What is going to be the breakthrough? And wherever it occurs for you, that breakthrough is dramatically, I shouldn't use the word traumatic. It's dramatically different, and it's useful, and it's functional, and it's going to support you. So if you're a Taurus rising, it'll change. It's the way you come out into the world. It's the way you come to the world. And you've been building to this. I don't think for many of you it's going to feel like a giant surprise. It's not going to happen on April 20th. All of a sudden we wake up and go, wow, I just had a magnanimous breakthrough. You're building toward it, 6 months at least. And so none of it's going to surprise any of you. What's going to be fun is when the zeitgeist, when the collective, you see it in the news and you see it in the world. This change that's occurring. And I know all of you are feeling, we're in that time period now where it's almost like what was for so long and so familiar is becoming the dream, like like a long time ago. There's a new wave coming, and I know we feel it. And I'm so excited for it. I really am. And the beauty of the planets in their reflection is that some of them are staying in Capricorn for a little bit so we can get used to it. Capricorn, like when you've been into the Aquarius world for so long, you can run to Capricorn like come to daddy moments. Like, whoo, Lord, I'm so glad to see you. Or mommy. But just like, whoo, your familiarity. Thank you. I love your familiarity because you never change. I love the familiar and the traditional and the things that are good to me. And that's where Mars, Mercury, and Venus are right now. And because they're in Earth and Jupiter is in Earth and Uranus is in Earth, whoo, good things can happen. Because now if you want the change to happen, it's not just an idea in the Aquarian of your mind. It's something you know to do. It's the plan. Y'all that are making plans, all of y'all that are making plans, you are going to see them come true. You're going to see the path open up. There's nothing in your way. Isn't that good news? What if you don't have a plan? That's what my mind goes. What if I don't have a plan? It doesn't mean nothing happens. It means that your life, and Javi's like, what if I don't have a plan? I'm sorry. You all can probably hear him barking, but It'll be brief. There is a fee. Okay. Let me not digress. So if you don't have a plan, it means that things that you want to do, they'll come easy in your mind. They'll just come. There's no like, oh my God, get my notebook and get my planner out so I don't want to miss this boat. It's not about that. The goal of all of this that I'm talking about is to just offer you a little better life, a little more peace of mind, a little more happiness. What else you got? You gonna make a lot of money? Gonna live in the house of your dreams and you're not gonna be happy until that happens? See, that's the beauty of living in this moment, is your happiness isn't a thing that has to happen down the road. I know you've heard that a million times. It sounds so cliche when I say it out loud. But what you get to do is you get to have your dream now. You get to hold the dream, but you get to have the happiness in the process now. Okay, I'm going to yell at them. Hang on. Okay, that was fun. You can see how good it did. So remember that one of the big goals here is the only goal really of astrology is that we get you some happiness in this moment. We get you some place to feel joyful while you're going through these changes that occur. We're going to get older. We're going to change. We're going to see the things that were happening now. I mean, somebody said once to me, I said, look at that picture. Look how young I was. And they said, the scary part is when you look at a current picture in a few years and you go, look how young I was. Where we don't appreciate the shift. Okay, I might have to do a little louder scream here in a minute, but I think they're settling down. It's a delivery moment, so they have to let the delivery people know they're here. So as we go through this and over the weeks, over the next months, what my hope to do with you is to get you to sort of like track these things, and we track them together so they happen in real time, because this stuff is going to get to the point where it starts being like literally predictable, like where you're seeing, oh, I know this one because when the moon was in here last time, this is how I felt. And when that moon goes into Cancer later today, I want you to notice the sort of what it does to you. I want you to notice if your mood changes a little, if you feel a little more sensitive, if you come in, just pay attention. Because Venus, this is the last day for Venus and Sag. So this is like the culmination of everything Sag. And I think at that 29 degree, there's so many stories about the 29 degree point, because that's the very last point of a sign. There's a lot of stories about like, this is the culmination of all that energy in one. And I've always felt it as like, I'm so tired of this energy. By the time it gets to 29, I am done. Like I'm ready for Venus to get me to appreciate some more of my independent life or where I am. So let's hold as that changes. And we're going to take a look real quick at the week ahead. Now, a couple just things to know about the Mark's Power Peak. Would you please sign up for Mark's Power Peak, 12house.com. Just get your name on the list. The reason I say that is because that list is sort of like our key measurement of how well you're doing, how strong our message is getting across. CA works. CA Brooks, as you all know by now, some people are even calling it CA's Power Peak. I love that. Somebody wrote me and said, CA's Power Peak isn't opening up. And I'm like, that's so cute. Notice my ego, I cling to Mark's Power Peak. And the only reason is because that's when I started it over 20 years ago. I mean, with Hay House I was doing it on the front page of their website, Mark's Power Peak. I would just go through I don't know where that name came from. It was like a power peak into the future, right? I wasn't very good at marketing, and I had to come up with things really fast because Hay House was like, what do you want to call it? What do you want to call it? Give us a name. So anyway, that stuck, and I wanted people who have known us forever to realize that's still the same iteration, a different iteration of the same thing that I started years ago. That's why it's there. But it is essentially the heart and soul to the writers of it, and CA writes prolifically every week. I don't know. She'd have a novel. She'd have 2 or 3 novels by now with the amount of writing she does. And I hope you can send her your love and appreciation. Her links at the bottom. Show her the love, because that is something, I don't know how she does it. And she does it with a smile on her face every time. I'm not kidding. CA is one person it's hard to get into a bad mood. At least I haven't seen it. Thanks, CA, if you're protecting me from that. But it's markhusson.com or markspowerpeak.com, peak with a P-E-E-K. And the password this week is New Age, one word, because I was thinking of the Aquarian New Age, the Pluto in Aquarius, and how that was bringing us into a new era. And it is. So if you get in there, you can look around. It works really well on the mobile device. It works really well on your phone and your laptop or your PC, whatever. It should all work. The reason I get you on the mailing list, a couple of reasons, is one, it's where I send the password out. It also shows the strength. It shows if you're connecting to us, if you're feeling okay with us. It also allows me to announce a couple days a week sales that are happening at 12listen.com. Things that shouldn't be offensive to you. And some of you are so neurotic, I think, about email. I know them all too intimately. People who do this, but they get an email and it's like, ah! So I try to make them colorful and fun. And I hope they're not annoying, but please get on the list. It makes a difference for me. It makes a difference for all of us. But if you go there, you'll see the track of the moon. And some of the things I want to do with you is to uncover this moon tracking, like how you read a void of course moon, what sign it's in. Okay, I gave him one more yell, so I think that one did it. And maybe you can't hear them barking, but when they're barking, sometimes it's sort of like it just sort of takes a little of my attention away and chips away at me being able to feel really focused with you. So that's the only reason I get a little crazy about it. So that's Mark's Power Peak. Be able to look at the moons. When the moon is void, of course, you'll see us pay a lot of attention to the void of courses of the moon. It's where the moon is no longer making any connection to any other planet before it changes sign. So if you see the moon's void of course, it means, it must be changing into Cancer today, which makes this a void of course moon show, which kind of could free me up. It can kind of free me from unhooking too much to the lunar energies, but it also can make it so that it can be a little discombobulating. So see what it does for you. I know there's a lot of people here that love the moon of being void of course. I am not one of them, but it's also much less of a thing than it used to be for me. Now I'm going to come and say hi to you guys real quick. I haven't been able to pay attention to the comments, but I'm doing it now. Karen's in the house. Hey, Karen, welcome back. Thank you. I'm glad you're here too. She says, I have 29 degrees Capricorn on the cusp of the 8th. For years, I didn't really see it. I only saw Aquarius there. Denial? Maybe sometimes it could be denial, or sometimes it's like the inner part of us goes, time for us to see this. Thank you, Pamela Snow. It's good to be back. Jennifer Lakshmi is in the house. Thanks, Jennifer. Jackie, the chart posted is my solar return. Happy birthday, Jackie. Over the years, I've been lucky enough to have birthday readings. I can't believe it either. That is so sweet. 125.52. The chart listed 125. Is it? Oh, it's your solar. Oh, it is. I get it. It plays very perfectly with your solar return. So it's close. Or no, because I did put up the full moon chart. So it is your solar return. Okay. Jackie, I'm slow to pick up. That's okay. Suzanne, thank you for being here. Oh my gosh, it's your birthday too. Happy birthday, Shirley. It's good to see you. Love you in the room. Linus, thank you for being here. You guys, I see your faces and names and it's like, wow, thank you. It's so touching. Hi, Terry Campbell. Terry's an advisor over at 1-2, an astrologer as well. Thank you, Terry. So sweet of you. Quelly, Grand Rising Mark. Quelly, it is so sweet. I don't know if I didn't see these messages, if it would, they'd leave an emptiness. Maureen, thanks for being here. Tara, thanks for coming. Hi, Charlene. You know who I'm starting to feel like that? Remember, I'm dating myself. It was Romper Room where she'd hold a mirror up and say, and I see Tara and Jamie. And I'd be like, she never said Mark. One time I think maybe she did, but I thought she never said Mark. She couldn't see me, but you all see me. Thank you. Charlene, thank you. Laura, thank you. Okay, Maya, I'm just sort of calling it out. Is it more impactful having Pluto transit your ascendant or your sun? Ooh, Chris Diana, look at you. More impactful. Let's see. I'll tell you this. When it hits your rising sign, there's a complete transformation of your sense of what you're doing in the world, your purpose, people, you tend to pull back because you don't want people seeing you as much. It's more scorpionic, right? When it hits your sun, it's sort of like you're also pulled back, but if it's not touching your rising, but your sun, you still can be with people, still can do it, but you're hiding it more. So it's a lot more obvious when it hits your rising sign, a lot more personal when it hits your sun. They're both impactful for sure, but I would imagine that your sun, having your sun transform, your sun sign transform, is way more personally impactful than having your rising sign transform. Just personal opinion. Patricia, I've never had it on my sun. I've had it on my rising, my moon, and my Saturn. They were some of the most powerful times of my entire life. Good morning, Mark. Hi, Patricia. Thank you. It's good to have y'all back. Y'all are so sweet. Denise Francis, Jamie Queso's in the house. Jamie's also a reader, a lovely reader at 12listen.com. Good to have you here, Jamie. I can't believe you have time. One of the busiest people I know. Patricia, thanks for being here. Morina. Thank you for being here. I have many planets in Taurus. Uranus and Scorpio just got home from having a tooth pulled. Uranus opposition is another one of the big teeth ones. It's kind of like, but just pre-midlife. They call it midlife, but it's mid-Uranus crisis. I'm glad you're okay, and it's so happy to have you here. Hi, Gwen. And Raven's here. I'm going to be on Raven and Jay's show, Backstage Pass, coming up this Thursday. So you get to, see me in a different light because I'm different when people talk to me, I guess, right? But Raven and Jay, they do the best interviews, so I'm happy to be there for the comeback show. Terry, let's see. I don't have a plan. I don't even have a plan. I don't even have a PLA. That's funny. I love it, Terry. Truly, CA's incredible work and dedication. She rocks. CA, thank you. I'm glad you all are giving CA some love. And let her know, because sometimes it's a lonely job when you're writing, right? Okay, let's wrap it up with the week ahead. You guys, it's so good. Thank you for letting me have that moment. Those listeners who are listening to me rant in the room, thank you for letting me have that time. There is a thing going on. Now, we have Valentine's Day coming up, and so the love is always a big theme. And I thought this year we would consciously bring it to a sense of love itself, not love necessarily in relationship to somebody else, not love in relationship to, anything outside of ourselves, and just the word love, the feeling of love, the experience of love. And I remember telling you guys, when you're doing gratitude, and this is a way to reach love, is to fill yourself up with this sense of gratitude rather than going through and being grateful for all the things. Because, here's the problem with lists. And I mean this. When you make a list of things you're grateful for example, you have this potential to you'll omit something. You will. Because how far do you take it? How far do you take it? Who did you miss? When you make a list of anything. I remember once me and Peggy Reeser, back in the old days, Peggy, if you're listening, we had this moment where she wanted to celebrate everybody's birthday, send a birthday note out. And I didn't want her to. And the reason I didn't want her to is because she's going to forget somebody. We would post it on Facebook and everything, and she's going to forget somebody. And that person is going to feel hurt. And that's the only reason I didn't want it to happen. And I put a stop to it. She wasn't very happy about it, but I put a stop to it because because she did miss a couple of people, and I don't want them feeling like, well, thanks, I don't matter. So I guess it's by that fear of omission. So when you're making a list of things you're grateful for, as you're getting ready to prepare for this mindset of gratitude, and I've talked about this right before my last show, fill yourself up with that sense right before you're about to call out the list, right? You fill your sense up with gratitude, your feelings up with gratitude. And hold that, carry that, keep that. Don't let it go. Because that is the feeling, that's love. That's that feeling of, wow. And keep that with you for as long as you can. Now, one of the ways we try to help, we have at 12listen.com, the gratitude board. Go use it. Go use it. Write it out. You're so anonymous, it's ridiculous. I can't even tell you. All we see is your typing. And it's even filled in anonymous. If you want to put your name, do it. But you can list things that you want to be grateful for that haven't happened yet, that you're afraid won't happen. That's a form of gratitude too. It's also saying, I trust that you're going to take care of it for me, big old fat universe. Okay? It's about, so love is really that feeling. The reason we love so much, I think, is that feeling of like, it erases everything that's bad. Suddenly, it feels okay to be here. Suddenly, this feeling inside of me that I can radiate for myself, and hopefully maybe other people feel it, but there's a sense in me that I'm okay. I'm just going to pass through here, but I'm connected to something I can't ever break. That feeling, that's what we're looking for. And when you're doing gratitude, that's sort of like as we enter this new year and enter this new thing, you can do all the things. That's why resolutions are kind of sad, because anything you do that could potentially create guilt, you want to not do. You get that? Anything that could potentially create guilt in you, you want to not do. It's about, like, you don't want to, I don't know, whatever it is, the tiniest little thing. If it starts creating like a little crack of your confidence and crack of your guilt, just stop for a minute. Either forgive yourself and do it anyway, but do what you can to eliminate this sense of I'm not loved, that I can do something to break this connection, because that's what this is all about. And you know that astrology is one path to that, right? Where you see the perfection of these moving things. You see the perfection of these planets, and you bring them in to say, how can they support me? How is that message supporting me? And that's all you have. That's what we do. And that's about being happy. So you can still be happy having a dream home. You can still be happy when that divorce is final. You can still be happy when. But you have one smaller obligation to that, and that's the happy now. I'm going to leave us on that note. To me, my joy, everything is enhanced by this experience with you, and I'm so grateful for it. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for all that you've done. This week ahead, I want you to pay attention. Venus is going into Capricorn. Let's pay attention to that. If you notice a certain sobriety, if you notice a certain thing opened up, like you finally see your pathway, then you'll know Venus made it into Capricorn. And I think that's going to happen this week for all of us, okay? There is a full moon Thursday, 5 degrees of Leo. And I'm so glad I remembered that before we signed off. That full moon, Leo is the father. Every Leo deals with hearing the voice of the Father, hearing the love of the Father, quote unquote Father. It can also be a mother. It's a power figure, but we call it the Father from the archetype that we use, the mythology. And that moon is such an opportunity. This is Thursday. That moon is an opportunity for you to reestablish the voice of love and support that comes from you being okay. Hearing the voice of this authority, which is just a higher part of you, reminding you how okay you are. It's also a good time to get your hair done. That Leo mane, right? Okay, listen, I'm going to leave us on that happy full moon. The stuff is getting brighter. That's why we're aiming toward the full moon. The new moons are a little tougher, so we'll be talking about that in a couple of weeks. This is Mark Husson. This is Mark Husson's Astrology Hour. Sending love to you in gratitude and appreciation. Go over to the gratitude board, 12listen.com. And guess what? I'm going to see you Thursday. And then next week, same time.